Okay, welcome to training on rider V as in Victor into the FARBAR contract. V as in Victor. This is the sale of the buyer's property. When you're going to use this is when a buyer is purchasing a home and they want to make the new closing contingent on the successful closing of their current property or a current property that they currently own. All right, technically usually it's the home that they're in right now. So again, let's read our top here. Listen to the audio on this. This rider is used quite often and should always be used when a buyer is purchasing a home and they want the purchase to be contingent upon the sale and or successful closing of a current property they own. Now, when I say that anytime, even if the property is already under contract, which by the way, we can talk about later on, we'll have to disclose whether it is or not. But if the new closing is contingent upon that first closing occurring, we call it a domino effect, back-to-back closings, all those, then you want to make sure you use this addendum, because even if you exceed, well, I think I'm getting to where you can create the dates to be whatever is negotiated, but pay attention to how long is required for successful closing. Also, if you represent the seller, realize that even if the loan approval, say you have the seller in this situation and the buyer is presenting an offer that is contingent on the sale of their home, you could have all the other contingencies gone. Home inspection, loan approval, all that's passed. But if, and this rider is used, the buyer may still cancel and receive full refund of their earnest money if their sale is not closed by the date specified below. So even if they already passed the 30-day window for their loan approval, and then within another 10 days, okay, because the closing's in 15 after that, then within 10 days their deal falls through on the whoever's purchasing their home, that deal falls through, then it's all a moot point. They get their money back and so on and so forth. That's also, I didn't note that here, but also make sure that if you're representing the seller and someone brings you one of these, oh, don't worry about it, it's all good, and their buyer's all pre-approved, you have the right and the duty, quite frankly, as the listing agent to ask to speak to the lender for the buyer who is buying the buyer's home. Okay, if A to B to C and you representing C, at the end you want to find out the buyer A, the borrower A. You want to talk to that lender to make sure that they're solid, their loan's progressing, so they can buy B, so B can sell their home, and B is now the buyer of your client's home C. All right, so you want to make sure you have all your ducks in a row and you have the right to go speak to those people. Finally, be sure to note whether the buyer's home, the first one that they're selling that needs to sell, is already under contract or not. As a listing agent, you want to know if it's listed with another agent or not, or if they're trying to sell it on their own, if it's for sale by owner, if they haven't even put it on the market. So let's read through quickly. This contract is contingent on the sale and closing of the buyer's property located at, that would be, because the buyer's property, the buyer is buying this property up here, the one described as, right? The one they're selling so they can buy this one is noted here, all right? If they already have a contract on that property, then they will give the seller a copy of that contract with all the third parties' identification and purchase price information obliterated, just to prove that yes, we are under contract. Now in red I have, if the sale of buyer's property does not close by such and such a date. So let's say we're going to close on the home that we're selling up here. We're going to close on it on April 15th. And down here you say, hey, this one needs to close by April 10th. If it does not, then the buyer may, within 3 days thereafter, deliver written notice to seller, either terminating the contract, which say, hey, look, my deal fell through, it didn't close on time, so I can't buy yours. I'm sorry, and then it is what it is, right? And the buyer gets their earnest money back, and everybody's released. Or the buyer could say, hey, you know what, I didn't close on that, but I found another way. I'm going to get a bridge loan. I found another way. I've got a rich aunt who's going to front me the money to buy this one until that other one closes, whatever the case may be, right? And they can remove this contingency, all right, by saying, hey, look, I'm going to remove the contingency and we're going to go still close on April 15th, all right? And then here's a disclosure of whether or not the buyer's property, the one that they are selling, is or is not presently under contract for sale. Okay. Oh, contract for sale if it's listed. I'm sorry, that I was thinking under contract. No, contract for sale would be a purchase agreement. So if buyer's property is under contract, buyer shall provide seller with a copy of the contract on or before. So that would be if it's already under contract, they say check, yes it is. All right, and we're going to contract on March the 1st. then I want a copy of that contract by March 2nd. So therefore I can dig through and find out what's going on. All right. But again, regardless, you don't want to rely on the financing contingency. If you're representing the buyer of this property, right, and they have to sell this property, you don't want to say, they can't get financing anyway, because if they don't get financing, if this one doesn't close, they can't get financing, which is fine to use, but you are limited to the loan approval deadline. Whereas if you have this date down here that exceeds the loan approval deadline, okay, that buys you more time that your buyer can back out based upon this property not selling or closing. Cool? All right, if you got any questions, let me know. We'll talk next about how you make an offer contingent on the sale of the buyer's property. It's not under contract yet, and the seller wants to protect their interest by still saying, well, what if that doesn't close, or you don't have a contract, and what if another buyer comes along and wants to buy my home? There is something called a kick-out clause we're going to talk about next. Thanks.